Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra of Vayetze. And it is very appropriate that I open and continue and end with reference to the Sedra and giving us extremely up to the moment and relevant content, but also with reference to the passing last Thursday of Reb Chanoch ben Yisrael, who was the leader of our shul, our community, and beyond. And this, we've had the privilege over many years to be in the presence of greatness and to see in all stages of life and circumstances wonderful characteristics, the embodiment of the values and the ways of the Torah that we associate with the Dayan and Lahavdil ben Chaim, his wonderful wife, the Rebbetzin. And this is something that we will treasure. And this share, the idea for this share actually started during COVID times. A lady of the shul said it would be really nice if we could have something specifically for the ladies. The men had organized themselves to carry out a number of activities, shul-related activities on Zoom, and we started doing this share on a weekly basis. And at that point it was interactive because everybody was at home, and we would talk, and it would be every Friday at 11 o'clock. And then as circumstances changed, then it was not continued there, but I continued doing it on YouTube and uploading it, but really to show gratitude for the lady Sylvie Monheit who suggested it, and for the shul who staged it, as it were, and really something that continues, and I think is a lovely way to share Torah with the concepts now that we've become familiar with in terms of doing it and on YouTube and sending it out. This is really something very special. And during the Shiva week, so many accounts of people's experiences of the Dayans, and the family have requested that everybody sends in their personal experience and any words and pictures that they have, because I think that part of the Dayan's greatness is that so much of what he did was out of the glare of publicity. Yes, he was a very public figure. He was the head of the Beis Din in Manchester and in London for many years. And there was much that he did that was prominent, and people were aware of it. But equally, it was those experiences that people had when he was helping them, when he was supporting them, and other people wouldn't know about that. And I think that this is the shining light, really, of such greatness. And a person who came to pay a Shiva call pointed out that there were two qualities that he experienced that are very unusual partners in the Dayan, in abundant quantities. And on the one hand, you had his exceptional ahavas Yisrael, ahavas abrias, love of all people. The way I think sometimes when at a funeral one sees the carers crying, sobbing like family members, then that is a testament in itself. And I think that this great love was just spilling over for everybody, for people who the Dayan would see in the street, would pass anybody on the street on Shabbos, would give them a lovely greeting as if they were close to him, known to him, special to him, whether he knew them or not. And this is something that people certainly experienced. And the other exceptional quality was the courageous stance that the Dayan took when he believed that something was right based on the sources. He would really have to accept whatever negative reactions might happen from other people, and he would not be deflected from doing what he believed is right. This is courageousness, and was really evident in many projects that the Dayan was associated with, that it would have made his life easier, I imagine, if he wouldn't have been involved with these projects, put his name at the forefront of these projects. But if he believed something was right, that courage, that bitochen would really power him forward. And again, this is something that we were privileged to witness personally. I think that I would add a third quality that really exemplifies the Dayan, and that is this quality of simcha, and the joy, the warmth that was really so palpable and apparent again in all different situations. And I have particular visions of the Shabbos before Purim, when we read the Parsha Zohar, and the custom of the shul is that boys under bar mitzvah give Devar Torah, and they would go up next and stand next to the Dayan. I believe they were on the bimah. Must have been quite a scary experience for these quite young boys. And they would stand next to the Dayan and give their Divrei Torah. And I can just see the expression on the Dayan's face, full of love and interest and joy, and this pure simcha. And this was a scene that was repeated over many years. And it is a vision that I think one of the many visions that really summarize this quality of joy in hearing the young children give over their words of Torah, and it is a very special image to conjure up and to treasure. And we've often pointed out that the words that we read every week in the Sedra are always relevant and meaningful, but some years they jump off the page, and literally we are reading them as if they're describing events that we're experiencing this very day. And I feel this week of vayetze, and opening with the pasuk, the first pasuk of the Sedra and the first Rashi, which really summarizes, I think, what we experienced with the passing of the Dayan. And this is chapter 28, verse 10. Vayetze Yaakov mi Be'er Sheva vayelech Harana. And Yaakov departed from Beersheba and went to Haran. And Rashi comments, Vayetze Yaakov, lo haya tzarich lichtov elo vayelech Yaakov Harana. It need only have written, and Jacob went to Haran. V'lama hizki yetziaso. Why does it mention his departure? Elo magid. But it tells us, She'etzias tzadik min hamakom, that the departure of a righteous person from a place, Ose Roshem, makes an impression. Shebizman she'ad tzadik ba'ir, for at the time that a righteous person is in a city, Hu Hoda, he is its magnificence. Hu Ziva, he is its splendor. Hu Hadora, he is its grandeur. Yotza Misham, once he has departed from there, Pona Hoda, its magnificence has gone. Pona Ziva, its splendor has gone. Pona Hadora, its grandeur has gone. And I think that this is, as we read it this week, I think that many people will be thinking about the departure, and we can see how the departure of Yaakov is a template for this. But what is so interesting is the way Rashi particularizes the effect, the roshem, the impression that a tzaddik's presence has and a tzaddik's departure has. And he's using these three words. He's using hod, he's using hadar, and he's using ziv. And I think it's really worth delving into these three words to get the full measure, or as close to the full measure, of the impact of this as possible. So this word hod, which actually appears in Tehillim, chapter 104, verse 1, and the pasuk reads, Baruchi nafshi es Hashem, bless the Lord, O my soul, Hashem Elohai Godolta Ma'od, Hashem, my God, you are very great. Hod v'hadar lavashta. You have clothed yourself with majesty and the glory of might. So this word hod is majesty. And we especially living in the United Kingdom, we have a royal family and we have a concept of majesty. But I think that when you have a truly righteous person, and that is majesty, that is royalty, that is somebody who is serving the community, who is working on their relationship with Hashem. It doesn't mean that it's easy, and this is just a message that shines through, this dignity, this message, and this element of majesty. You don't have to be born, you don't have to have blue blood, you don't have to be born into the royal family, but this is something that just behaving in this way, in this dignified way, will confer a title of majesty, and will mean, in the case of Yaakov, while he was in the city, that he is just exuding this aura, this specialness, and I think that we experience that with the Dayan with us. And then we have the word hadar, and then we could describe that. It is translated as grandeur. And it's very interesting, especially in the month of Kislev, as we are going towards Hanukkah. And we actually have, I believe, the origin of the concept of a Hidur mitzvah. And this is doing a mitzvah in its most beautiful way. It's not just being satisfied with the basic requirements. It's not a tick box exercise, but it is really investing the time, the energy, the love into performing this mitzvah. So we are going to carry it out in the most beautiful way possible. And the source for this concept, the pasuk, is actually a pasuk from the Shirat Hayam, the shira that Moshe Rabbeinu and the Bnei Yisrael sang after Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting of the Red Sea. And the pasuk says, Zeh Keli va'anvehu. This is my God, and I will beautify him. And the concept is pertinent to Hanukkah, that really the basic mitzvah of lighting the Hanukkah candle is one candle per household per night. And a Hidur mitzvah, a more beautiful way of doing it, is that each member of the household lights one candle, and then mahadrin min ha-mahadrin, the superlative, the best way to do it is that we add an extra candle every night. So the first night 1, second night 2, etc., until the 8th night. So again, this concept of the performing of a mitzvah, that one has the privilege when one lives in the same city as a righteous person, that one sees how the mitzvahs, although we have this concept of Ol Malchus Shamayim, which is the yoke of the sovereignty of heaven, and we wear it upon our shoulders, but we do not feel when we do these mitzvahs that we are burdened by them. They may be on our shoulders as a yoke, but they are our wings. And this is something that I think as well, the way the mitzvahs are carried out with enthusiasm, with the simcha, that really, I think, lights everything in every sense of the word. This is really a message that we get from Yaakov Avinu, we get from this account of the Torah and the words of Rashi, and we experience it in all the subsequent generations when we are blessed to have to be in the proximity of these great people. And then we have the concept of Ziv, aura, and the month of Iyar is also known as the month of Ziv, and that is described as the month where the spring flora and fauna, they almost provide this glow of light around all of the sort of trees and the flowers. It's sort of this enhancement. You have the actual tree, but then you have this surrounding of light with the arrival of springtime and the flowers and the blossoms. And I think that we can understand this concept of aura, that it is not the object itself, it is the light that surrounds the object. And I think that when you have a tzadik, that inside they have talent, they have energy, they have potential, and it is when this is shared, when this is shining outwards, that you have an aura. And we have this with the special people that surround us. And I think that, again, this is a message from the Torah, from this account of Yaakov, and also from our experience of the great people around us, from our experience of the Dayan. And I think that this year, when we read this Shabbos, the words of Rashi, they just have that echo, they have that resonance that is applicable in a very particular, specific fashion this week. But it's also interesting to look at the word, the continuation, because while the tzaddik is in the city, he is its hadar, he is its hod, he is its ziv. But then Rashi continues, and we should be very well aware of the effect. It says Pona Hoda, this word Pona. So it's translated as gone away, left. But really the word for left is la'azov, to leave. That is, if something is left, that is usually the word that is used. So it just occurred to me that this word Pona, we have it in, among other places, the Yom Kippur davening, as we daven the prayer of Ne'ilah, which is the last prayer of Yom Kippur as the day is ebbing away, and the unique opportunity that it brings for forgiveness. And the words are as follows: Pesach lanu shar, open for us a gate, be'es ne'ilas shar, at the time of the locking of the gate, kifona yom, because the day is passing. Hayom yifneh, the day will pass. Hashemesh yovo v'yifneh, the sun will come and will pass. Novo shorecha, we will come. Novo shorecha, we will come to your gates. And I think that the departure of the great person from the city definitely leaves a gap, if you like, or some kind of void. But it doesn't have to leave in the real sense, because the message and the inspiration of that presence is something that continues. And I think that this is really part of the way that Rashi is using this word Pona, because the sun will come and will set. There is a natural cycle of physical life, of the cycle of the day. But really, it is about maximizing our interaction with the righteous person when he is in the city. And then we are able to, once he has departed, whether he leaves for another city, whether at the end of the lifespan the righteous person passes on, the impression that the effect, the lasting effect of being in the presence of greatness, that is something that can stay with us and be a perpetual source of comfort. And as if that is not enough, to be able to think very much in terms this year of Dayan Ehrentreu Zatzal, with the words of the pasuk, with the words and the interpretation of Rashi. I think as we go slightly further into the Sedra, and we have the dream of Yaakov as he is fleeing from his brother Esau, and the pasuk in chapter 28, verse 12 tells us, Vayachalom, and he dreamt, V'hinei sulam mutzav arza, and there a ladder which was set earthwards, V'rosha magia hashamayma, and its top reached the heavens. And I think that really this is also Yaakov's nighttime vision, but is also a very accurate summary of the Dayan's of the Dayan's attitude. His feet were planted firmly on the ground, and he was so approachable by so many people who came for help, for questions, and he would give a measured, considered response appropriate to the person, sensitive to the person who was asking him. And I think that this very grounded attitude, coupled with his great knowledge and his erudite learning, which enabled him to quote, to base his decisions on the sources, on the halacha, which he was so proficient in. But he would share that, and he would make it relevant, and he would use it always not to burden people, but to really just give them the clarity of the decision, and where possible, find a way that would not impose more than was required, and sort of always with tremendous sensitivity, so grounded. But this concept of Rosho Magia Hashamayma, the visions, the dreams, the aspirations were not to be satisfied at the ground level, to be aiming higher, to be setting up new institutes of learning in London, in the suburbs, in Europe, and really bringing Torah to places where perhaps it wouldn't have reached naturally, spearheading these initiatives. And I think that it is very appropriate when we read about Yaakov's dream in this week's Sedra, that we have this very special image of Dayan Ehrentreu Zatzal. And this is something, again, that can give us tremendous inspiration and comfort at the same time. Inspiration because each of us in our own way has our potential, and it is up to us to really exert ourselves to fulfill that potential, to be our best selves, and to really do whatever we can to make that impact. So it can be said of us when we live somewhere that we are making this positive impression on all our surroundings, everywhere that we meet, everywhere that we may be, and that it is something that lingers after our departure. Thank you very much for listening, and wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.